Welcome back to Pokemon episode summaries. Today, I'll be doing episode 91, Shell Shock. The episode begins with Ash and the gang chillaxing on Lapras as usual on their way to the next island when Tracy comments on how warm it was, and that would likely mean that they would see a whole bunch of water Pokemon. Just then, a motorboat rushes by, causing a huge-ass wave to hit Lapras. This wave doesn't do any long-term damage or anything though. Ash and the gang are more curious as to where the motorboat was heading, so they decide to follow it as they see it chase it to an island. Ash and the gang then eventually arrive on this island as Ash recalls Lapras into his Pokeball, and they spot the people that were on the boat get off as well. They then realize that the people that were on the boat were both a reporter to report on the situation and a whole team of archaeologists. The reporter was talking to the camera to inform them, and she essentially reveals that the island was known as Fukuhara Island number 4, and that there was a legend called the Legend of Kabuto that was related to the Pokemon Kabuto, which the archaeologists were hoping to find some fossils of. Since, as we knew from back during the prehistoric Pokemon episode, the Kabuto were in fact ancient extinct Pokemon. After finishing the report, the reporter then goes to the archaeologist's dig site that they had since ran off to, and Ash and the gang decide to follow, wanting to find out more about the Kabutos. Ash and the gang trail the reporter to the archaeologist's base camp, where she continues to report on a Kabuto fossil that had already been found off of the coast of the island, adding that it didn't seem to originally be from the coast, indicating that it was moved somehow. She then finishes by saying how big of a find this Kabuto fossil could be for mankind, and explains to the camera that she was going to talk to the archaeologist leader so that they could explain why. While she says all this, Ash uses his Pokedex to find out more information about Kabuto, as if he didn't already know enough about it because he's already seen one, but you know. The reporter proceeds to talk to the leader of the archaeological team, just as she said she would, and the leader is revealed to be none other than a Nurse Joy. Ash and the gang are obviously shocked at this, like why would a Nurse Joy come out of her office in the Pokemon Center to go digging? Well, Nurse Joy then reveals that the reason why they were digging for Kabuto fossils in the first place was because they were said to be both a youth elixir that kept you eternally ageless, as well as a really good medicine. So due to it being a potentially really good medicine, that's probably why Nurse Joy was interested. She then adds, though, that there was a very big chance that all this could end up not being true, and tells the people in the camera to not get too excited in case they couldn't find anything. Despite this warning, Ash and Tracy are still immensely interested in the prospect of the Kabuto fossils, so they run up to the camera and claim that they would like to help with the expedition, citing their reason as to wanting to bring a Kabuto fossil back to Professor Oak, with Tracy trying to get Oak's attention from over the live broadcast, hoping he was still remembered by his idol after the last time they talked. Misty then pulls Tracy and Ash away from the camera, stating how they were being both very annoying and very embarrassing. But hey, come on, Misty, they clearly just had a passion for Kabuto fossils, and Tracy just had a passion for Oak in general. Meanwhile, Team Rocket was currently spying on Ash and the gang, as well as the archaeologist crew, from the ocean in their Magikarp sub. Jessie comments on how there was reporters on the island for some reason, and reveals her interest of wanting to be on TV, but Meowth simply rebuttals that the only way that they could probably get on TV is if they were able to successfully steal Pikachu, and they made a story about it. Jessie likes this idea, but James isn't having any of it. He doesn't give a shit about being on TV. Since he was the one who had to do most of the peddling in the Magikarp sub, he had really worked up an appetite, and he was bitchy. He just wanted some food. Meanwhile, the reporter then informed the audience that the archaeologists were now on their way to the digging site, as that's where they proceeded to go. Ash and the gang had been permitted by Nurse Joy to go along, so Ash was very excited as he proclaimed for the Kabuto to watch the fuck out, because he was going to be the first one to find a fossil. And I'm sure he would be, because protagonist power. Now, there wasn't just humans that were part of the archaeologist team, no. There was also some Growlithe for sniffing out the fossils, some Machoke for doing a lot of the heavy lifting, and some Rhydon for helping out with the digging. The archaeologist team, along with Ash and the gang, continued to make their way to the site, as unbeknownst to them, they were being followed by not just a mysterious man, but Team Rocket as well. Although they were making sure to trail far behind so that they wouldn't get spotted. Team Rocket had decided to change their plan from stealing Pikachu to stealing a lot of the Kabuto fossils that could potentially be found on the island. Unfortunately for them, they were being slowed down, as James was still immensely tired, both from not being able to get any food, and now, instead of having to peddle the Magikarp sub, he was the one forced to carry all of Team Rocket's supplies. Anyways, as the archaeologist team are walking, they come across a huge boulder blocking the way, and the Growlithe start to growl at it, as if there was something wrong with it. Nurse Joy calmly suggests that it wouldn't be an issue, and that they should just go around it, but, unfortunately, the boulder then starts rolling down the hill, threatening to kill absolutely everyone. This, of course, causes everyone to go running down the hill as well, so that they can try and outrun it before it absolutely murders them, but in doing so, this means that they were getting further away from the digging site, so Ash suggests that they can't just keep running forever, and tells the Nurse Joy to command the Machoke to do something, and she does, having the Machoke lift up the boulder and throw it over the side of the hill with their sheer strength. As a result, since Team Rocket was so far behind that they were down on the side of this hill, they get hit by the boulder. Although Jessie and Meowth narrowly avoid it, so it only hits James into a nearby canyon. Damn, James was just having terrible luck this episode, bro. I'm sure he'll get out though, he's Team Rocket. With the boulder dealt with, the reporter states how much of a miracle the Machoke were to the camera, and everyone continues up to the excavation site, as the mysterious shadowed man from earlier still watches. This time, though, he actually manages to get himself spotted by Pikachu. Unfortunately, by the time Pikachu is able to alert Ash about this, the man had since disappeared, so Ash saw absolutely nothing. Although he was now suspicious and keeping his eye out, as he still believed Pikachu. Just then, everyone eventually arrives at the digging site, which was a huge-ass bay area, and the flat areas of ground that surrounded it, located on the northern shore of the island. As the reporter obviously clarified that you couldn't dig in water, everyone proceeded to begin digging, with Ash immediately complaining, but hey, you have to do what you have to do if you want to find that Kabuto fossil. He acknowledged this as he kept digging, putting his complaints aside, as Tracy, on the other hand, wasn't complaining whatsoever, stating how he was going to examine every single rock in search of the fossil, a task perhaps even more tedious than what Ash was doing. Thankfully, though, the humans obviously weren't the only ones digging, as all the Pokémon were helping as well, which was helping the progress tremendously. This progress then began to get hindered, though, as several more boulders started rolling down out of nowhere, from all surrounding directions. Nurse Joy warned everyone to get the fuck out of the way, but the reporter refused, wanting to get a closer look at the boulders to report on them. This causes one of the boulders to almost hit the reporter, but thankfully for her, Nurse Joy jumps in at the last second and commands the Rhydon to use a horn drill to absolutely decimate the boulder, and the Rhydon then proceeds to use multiple other horn drills in order to take out the rest of the boulders. The reporter instantly thanks Nurse Joy, stating once again how much of a miracle the Pokémon were, this time the Rhydon. Misty then points out how the boulders falling in general could perhaps not be just a fucking miracle, and that there was actually someone behind all the boulders heading towards them, suggesting that a hitman was involved. Ash was obviously suspicious of this as well, due to the fact that Pikachu had apparently seen something, and then that thing had disappeared, but Tracy refuted both Misty and Ash, saying how he had heard that this island was supposed to be deserted. But can we really take Tracy's word? He said last episode that Pincon Island was deserted, and it wasn't. Well, no, we obviously cannot take Tracy's word, as, like we saw before, there was a man who was constantly hiding and spying on Ash and the gang. Speaking of him, right as Tracy finished his refute, Pikachu immediately spotted this man once again, and didn't waste no time in going chasing after it, leading Ash to follow it, telling it to come back, unaware of where it was going. As he runs along, Ash manages to spot the man as well this time, and immediately catches up to him, and goes for a tackle attack on him. No, not the move tackle, he just straight up tackles the guy to the ground. He clumsily falls to the ground as well, though, so the man attempts to get up and escape, but fortunately, everyone else, who had since tailed Ash as well, shows up, cornering the guy, as Nurse Joy questioned who he was and what he was up to, forcing him to reveal that he had been watching them, and that he was the one responsible for throwing all the boulders, adding that the reason why he caused the boulders to fall was because he wanted to scare all of them off of the island. Adding, however, that the only reason why he wanted to scare them off the island was so that he could protect them, saying that something bad was going to happen. Misty obviously doesn't believe him, because why would he fucking try and kill them with boulders if he was trying to protect them, and she starts yelling at him as the reporter explains what was going on to the audience, stating that they had found a weird-ass man. This causes the man to go up to the reporter's camera and reveal that his name was Umberto, not weird-ass man. His sudden outburst frightens both the reporter and the cameraman, but Umberto continues on, telling the camera a prophecy. Yeah, as if that was going to make him sound more credible, but anyways, the prophecy was essentially that when the scavengers come, the moon will glow an angry red, the land itself will vanish and be swallowed by the sea. This obviously implied that when the diggers were going to come to the island, then it would cause the island to flood, so that's what Umberto was worried about when these diggers arrived. After realizing this, Nurse Joy attempts to clarify to Umberto that the diggers meant the island no harm, and that they weren't going to cause it to flood, they were simply looking for Kabuto fossils. With Misty adding that if anything, Umberto was doing more damage to the island, as he was dislodging boulders and rolling them down, and he was trying to kill people, and that was obviously not good. Umberto responds by saying that it didn't really matter what the diggers' intentions were, just the fact that they had the potential to flood the island, and demanded them to leave. But just then, one of the diggers revealed that he had found a Kabuto fossil. He then proceeds to excitedly lead them into the cave where he had found it, with Umberto also coming along. They immediately spot the Kabuto fossil that had been found, and they all admire it very, very closely. Tracy, on the other hand, was too busy looking at the rest of the cave, and this caused him to spot that there were fossils everywhere. In fact, the entire cave was made of Kabuto fossils. This causes the reporter to get excited, stating that this would make her ratings go absolutely bonkers, as opposed to just reporting on one fossil. I don't know if you should say that while you're still live on air, but okay. The excavation crew then immediately begins to start digging, utilizing the Rhydon as much as possible, but Umberto immediately demands them to stop, in fear that all this digging would be what causes the island to flood. Just then, though, it's revealed that Umberto's bigger concern should have been Team Rocket, as a cloud of smoke, caused by a bomb, appears out of nowhere, being caused by Team Rocket. This bomb had made the walls weaker, and threatened to collapse the entire cave, as Team Rocket said their motto, revealing their plan to steal all the Kabuto fossils off of the wall, saying that they wanted to do so to utilize the fossils for doorsteps for Giovanni's mansion, hoping that he would give him a promotion because of this. The reporter and Umberto interrupt Team Rocket's motto, though, and hey, Jessie should have liked that the reporter interrupted her, as it meant that she was going to be on TV. But anyways, the reporter essentially just reports on the danger that Team Rocket was causing, while Umberto, realizing that Team Rocket was likely the one that could cause the island to flood, warns them to not try and steal the Kabuto fossils, warning them of the prophecy. Team Rocket obviously laugh at the prophecy, thinking it's complete bullshit, and they proceed to try their best to dislodge the fossils off of the wall by using a bomb, which they threw at Umberto, attempting to kill him while doing so as well. Umberto obviously fucking panics and throws the bomb into Nurse Joy's hands, and Nurse Joy then panics and begins throwing it into the reporter's hands, and it essentially becomes a game of hot potato of people not wanting to die with the bomb in their hands, and it eventually gets to Ash, who throws it at the wall of Kabuto fossils out of sheer instinct of not wanting to put anyone in danger. But this unfortunately allows the Kabuto fossils to become dislodged from the wall, just like Team Rocket was planning, so they're able to grab them all and put them in a net, and take off in their Meowth balloon. Despite the unfortunate event that had just occurred, the reporter was more concerned with informing the audience, and this pissed off Ash and the gang. As for Team Rocket and their Meowth balloon, they were ecstatic at the fact that they actually were able to steal the Kabuto fossils, congratulating themselves, and they were so happy to the point where they almost didn't even realize that the moon had turned fucking red, just as the prophecy that the man had stated had warned about. But they did realize, although they weren't concerned since they were so happy. They should have been, though, as, due to the red moonlight hitting them, the Kabuto inside the net began to come alive from their fossilized forms. Due to the moonlight shining through the cave as well, a few of the remaining Kabuto fossils in there, as Team Rocket weren't able to take them all, begin to come alive as well, much to the horror and disbelief of everyone inside the cave. The Kabuto then proceed to move around, revealing that they weren't just alive, but they were fast as fuck as well, and the man orders everyone to run away, suggesting that the Kabuto could fucking kill them if they really wanted to, and everyone does proceed to in fact run out of the cave, including the reporter, who ends up dropping her camera, much to the dismay, and her camera then gets absolutely fucked by all the Kabutos crawling all over it. Surprisingly, the reporter doesn't go back for her camera though, so she's able to run out with everyone and they don't die. Meanwhile, the Kabuto had come alive inside of Team Rocket's Meowth balloon and immediately attacked them, sending them blasting off. It's then revealed that some of the digging team was still situated outside, digging, as the digging team that was in the cave run up to them and immediately warn them of the incoming Kabuto as the Kabuto approach. These diggers join everyone else in their screams of terror, thinking that the Kabuto were going to harm them, but just then, the Kabuto simply jump into the water and swim off, revealing that they actually had no intention of harming any of the diggers. Despite this though, that didn't mean that there was no danger, as then the island began to rumble, experiencing severe earthquakes, which would soon obviously cause the island to flood. This leads the man to realize that the prophecy was in fact true after all, and the reason why the diggers were technically responsible was because the diggers had brought Team Rocket to the island, and Team Rocket had dislodged the fossils. And since the fossils were what originally made up the island, like, what it was built off of, as opposed to being built around rock, it was built around these fossils. And since the fossils were now gone, alive as the Kabuto again, it meant that the island had lost a lot of what it was built around, and it was causing it to be destroyed and flood as a result. Since not having land obviously meant the water could take over. One of the diggers suggests that everyone escape to the boat that they came to the island on, but Umberto rebuttals that not only was the boat too far away, but the prophecy had said to make a raft in order to escape, stating that that would be their only chance. Since the rest of the prophecy had come through, even down to the red moon, Ash and the gang decided to believe Umberto as everyone worked together to build a raft, with especially the Pokémon helping, with the Rhyhorn and Machokes chopping down trees in the forest so that everybody else could tie them together. This was taking them a long-ass time though, giving the water a lot of time to creep in and flood the island as the land continued to completely dissipate. Once again, because it had lost the foundation of the Kabuto fossils. By the time the raft was finished, most of the island was completely overrun with water. But that's alright, because that was the entire point of the raft. So, Ash and Misty send out their water Pokemon, Ash sending out his Lapras and Squirtle, and Misty sending out her Goldeen and Staryu, and Ash ties some rope to them, tying them to the raft, and the 4 Pokemon proceed to pull the raft to safety, having to dodge a whole bunch of trees that had since sunken into the water, along with a whole bunch of other debris, which they have to crash through. Ash and the gang and all the excavation crew then watch as the last of the island's land becomes overtaken by water, still in disbelief that the prophecy was in fact right after all. The island was completely gone. And the moon turning red was the cause of it, as because of the red moon, that had been what had caused the Kabuto to awaken from their fossilized state. Nurse Joy then realizes that maybe the rumor about the Kabuto keeping people eternally ageless, or eternally alive, actually referred to the Kabuto themselves, as they were able to keep themselves eternally alive with the help of the red moon, as long as the red moon shined, they could come back to life. Nurse Joy then apologizes to Umberto for not initially believing the prophecy, and tells everyone that they shouldn't tell anyone outside of this excavation crew what had happened with the Kabuto, as it may encourage people to want to try and research the red moonlight and try and make themselves eternal from it as well, which could definitely be dangerous. Even the reporter surprisingly agrees with Nurse Joy, despite wanting to get her ratings up. Everyone else agrees as well, as they then see the Kabuto swimming out towards the red moonlight, looking for a new place to go to. Essentially, their routine was that they would find a spot in the water to rest, and eventually they would return to being fossils, since the red moonlight would disappear, and this would cause a new island to be formed based off of the fossils, and then the cycle would just keep repeating. The red moonlight would appear again, the Kabuto would come alive, destroying the island again, and yeah, process repeats.